Emily, and my proposition is that GMOs are not labeled properly according to the Food and Drug Act of 1906. So in case you guys aren't familiar with that, I'm a food and nutrition major. We talk about this stuff ad nauseum. So basically the act says that it prohibits the manufacture, sale, or transfer of adulterated, misbranded, or deleterious foods, which GMOs, by definition, have been altered at the genetic level. And this can mean anything from adding precursors to make vitamin A and improving human health, or something as trivial as making glow-in-the-dark pigs. So recent studies have shown, including one conducted by Sandor Spizak, that humans can actually have these spliced genes enter their bloodstream, and there hasn't been a whole lot of research to show what exactly this could mean in the future, but it is a growing concern. So having GMOs on the market without proper labeling is essentially misbranding, and because people really aren't aware of what is in their foods. So GMOs have not been completely proven safe. A lot of them are grown with the support of chemical agents such as Roundup. There are a lot of adverse effects associated with this. There was a study done by Anthony Samsel that showed that Roundup can lead to people getting irritable bowel syndrome, different psychological maladies like depression, anxiety. It's also been associated with infertility, birth defects, and certain crops, especially the majority of them are GMOs now, including canola, soy, and sugar beets. 90% of all of those crops are actually GMO crops. So, another study by Assis Aris has shown that toxins from these pesticides have been found in maternal and fetal blood cells, and the toxins have been associated with birth defects. So. Also, other developed nations have decided to proceed with caution as far as having GMOs on the market. They're still a part of what people eat, but they have been properly labeled so people can make better choices. So the European Union in particular has a better system in place. According to the European Commission's website, Europe has recognized that risks are not fully known regarding GMOs, so their development has been carefully monitored. They're kind of trying to assess whether having them be a big part of the market is going to have a negative effect both on human health and that of the environment. They are still available on the market, foods that contain GMOs, but they're labeled so people can essentially research the risks and then decide for themselves whether they want to eat these foods. And they also have a safeguard clause in place, which is kind of like a veto power. Even if the European Union says that GMOs are okay, individual countries can say that they don't want them in the country. And Austria, France, Greece, Hungary, Germany, and Luxembourg take advantage of that and don't have GMOs on the market. So I think that system could very easily be in place here. You could still have GMOs, but even on a state level, different states could say that they don't want them on the market. So, in conclusion, I think that GMOs should be labeled and foods containing them should be readily available right on the label. They have not been completely proven safe, and because of that, they should be labeled. And I believe that policies should change so that people can make more informed choices.
Well, the proposition says that they've been mislabeled under the Food and Drug Act of 1906, and at the beginning you have a brief clause from the 1906 Food and Drug Act. What we need is some legal opinion that demonstrates that alteration, for instance, at the genetic level, equals a violation of the criteria that are listed in the Act, because that's where the argument is, if that is in fact your claim. Later on in the speech, though, especially when you get to the summary of the arguments, we never hear anything more about the Food and Drug Act of 1906. It instead becomes an argument that says GMO food should be labeled, people should have the ability to decide for themselves, and that it's not proven safe. I think that the real argument that you have here should be that genetically modified organisms are either unsafe or that we've failed to prove that they are safe, and as a consequence there are risks to consuming those foods. And I think that's a much more straightforward claim of fact, and it's really what most of your evidence is about. The structure of the speech is not very clear. I think you need a stronger preview of what the information is going to be. As I'm listening to it, there is a lot of data, but it seems like it's randomly introduced without building to a particular point, and I'm not sure how it's been collected. Sometimes the information is cited as if it is a quote, but it really sounds like it's a paraphrase or a summary of what a piece of research said, and it's not a direct quote. I think that's a little bit problematic. If the percentage of foods that are GMO are as high as you say in some of those particular areas, like 90%, the soybeans and the sugar beets and all those kinds of things, then I would think that we would be seeing a substantial spike in the kinds of problems that you're identifying, and we didn't get any data like that. The notion that the European Union's rules are more effective would suggest that there is in fact a difference and that people have benefited as a result of having a choice, but I didn't hear any data that talked about how people have benefited from having that choice, just that they have that choice, and because that, in and of itself is a good thing. But I'm not sure why it's a good thing. And the analogy that you draw later on to states being able to do the same kind of thing, I think that there is, I would imagine that there would be complications based on the way agricultural practices work. But that's neither here nor there, because you're not really supposed to be advocating a policy at this particular point. All right, thank you.